Hello and welcome to this. Hello and welcome to today's live live lesson on the AM Language YouTube channel. It's okay. I can't really do anything about my hair. I don't know what's going on. Never mind. So yes, today is Tuesday. Welcome to the AM Language channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're over 750 subscribers, which is great. Let's see if we can get to the next one, 760, maybe even by the end of the week, which would be fantastic. Leondina, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson and thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. Buono pomeriggio. In today's lesson, we are looking at the topic of the nuclear family and society. And we're also going to look at the zero and first conditional. We're going to try and activate it. I know some students are learning about this week, so we're going to look at it. Now, I know some students are also learning about family this week. In terms of relationships, we'll look at that probably more tomorrow. But for today's lesson, we're going to see if we can just talk about ideas surrounding the family and society. It's a good subject, and it's always important to go back to a little bit of the basics. Alida, good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. Buenos dias. So yeah, we're going to look at the nuclear family. We'll include other types of family, of course, because nuclear family talks about the traditional husband, wife, and the children. But of course, in today's world, we don't necessarily always have that. We sometimes have single parents, for example. So we're going to include that element. And then from there, we're going to look at society. So we're going to build our conversation up. And it's an interesting one because the start of the conversation, I'm going to make it a little bit philosophical. So let's see how we can do this. So now some of you might know the names I'm about to say. So Plato, if I mentioned the Plato and Augustine, some of you might know who these people were. So in case you don't know, Plato is a very famous Greek philosopher. And Augustine is a very famous Christian philosopher as well. Now, Augustine was influenced by Plato. And a very interesting starting point of the conversation today is this, and it's very much the sort of thing you can find in the works of Plato and Augustine, which is the family is the start of all political life and society. So that is very much the starting point. That's what Plato would argue. That's what Augustine would argue, that the family is the start of all political and social life, political life and society. That's the start. So the first question, which we're now going to go in with an if clause over here. If the one second. Okay. And we're going to discuss these statements It doesn't mean that these statements are true, but it means we can discuss. And then look at the next one. Okay, let me just break this down to you. Okay, first con. Okay. So we have these two statements. The second statement is probably a little bit better because I've included a little bit more. So if the family is the start of political and social life, all problems start with the family. That would be a zero conditional. And the second one, if the family is the start of political and social life, then most problems in the political and social life will start with the family. Now we can play around with that a little bit. The most problems in political and social life will start with the family. So what are we looking at here? Well, first of all, let's look at the zero conditional. What does this mean when we use a zero conditional? A zero conditional is a present is if plus present simple plus present simple. And we use it to talk about facts, okay? Things that just are. A first conditional, slightly different, if plus present simple plus will, and then plus the infinitive, okay? So, and we use it for not facts, but roughly 90% certainties. Let's go with that sense, okay? 90% certainties. So we're feeling very strong about it. So all of a sudden, when we look at these two opening statements, we could see the meaning slightly changes. So based off this, which meaning do you think is the closer one? Which one do you think sounds better? Do you think if we're going to talk about this subject, do you think the zero conditional is the best way forward? Or do you think the first conditional is the best way forward? Remember, the zero conditional is used for a fact. This first conditional is used when we are 90% certain. There might be some, we might be 10% uncertain about one or two things. And then from there, we'll develop the questions and sentences that we can create. But this is an interesting idea. So if we go back to the statement, the family is the start of all political life and society. What does this mean? Well, does this mean that if the family is the start of political and social life, all problems in society and politics start with the family? Or if the family is the start of political and social life, then most problems in the political and social life will start with the family. You can see how the meaning just changes slightly. And why is this a good topic? Well, this is a good topic to discuss. So Leondine has gone straight in saying that the zero conditional, maybe in this case, is the better option because you're talking about something here that you think is a fact. Lida, on the other hand, has gone with first conditional for her is perhaps the truest statement. And both of you can make very good arguments for both. But we can see already when we're having a conversation like this, we can already see how our choice of conditional is going to make a big difference in terms of what we mean. Do we think we're talking about a fact, or do you think we're talking about something that we feel strongly is the case? Don't forget, we don't always have all the facts. So we're off to a really good start here. So I'm now going to write some more sentences, but I would like you to try and complete the sentences and then we can discuss. So, for example, and we're going to introduce a little bit of psychology here, actually. So, if you like psychology, I hope you enjoy what is about to come, because even though this is the start of this conversation is philosophical, there is a psychological element to some of the things we are going to talk about. So the first one is, let's go with this. Okay, B. Okay, let's look at this. Let's see if you can successfully complete the first one. So, first con. So we've got A and B here. Let's see if you guys can complete these sentences and then we can talk about the sentences. You need to think about I haven't told you what word to use, but I'll just explain that in the first one here, A, this is a zero conditional. So you don't want to use a modal verb. You need to think of a verb that can go between they and a problem. With B, you need to think about maybe do you need the modal verb? If you do, which one? Alida and Leodina have come in with their answers. A, have, and B, will have. Well, guys, thank you for telling me your answer. I'll give people more opportunities, other people watching, to come in with their answers. But Alida and Leodina, can you tell me, in this case, what do you think? Do you think these statements are true? Do you think A is true? Do you think B might be true? Or do you think both of them may not be true? Let me know what you think. It's an interesting one when we talk about people's relationships. Um, and of course, when in a family, parents happen to be the people that children listen to, and it's an interesting idea. If people don't like to listen to their mother, their father, does this mean they are going to have a problem with authority when they are older? It doesn't mean that they are going to be difficult in the workplace. A leader has come in and said B, for example. And this is an interesting one. I'm leaning towards B based on my personal experience. And sometimes you can see this in the workplace as well. I think you definitely can see patterns of behavior. So, I can tell you that the correct answers are as follows. Okay, in this case, A is have and B is will have. So we're off to a good start there. I'm now going to see if you guys. Leondina has come in and said A. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Leondina. So far, Alida and Leondina are changing between the answers over here. If a person does not listen to their parents, you know they have a problem with authority. I think it's an interesting one. I would say, just for my own observation in life, I can think of many examples that fit that description. It doesn't mean it is, of course, always the case, but I can think of quite a few examples that probably does fit that description. So the next thing that we'll move on to is this idea. Again, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to try and build on this, and I'm going to see if you guys can finish the sentence for me. Well, actually, we'll do this. If this is the start, if this is the finish, if this is the second part of the sentence, what is the first part? So if this is the second part of the sentence, what is the first part? Okay, let's see how we get on with this. A. So let's see how you guys do here. I've made this a little bit difficult because so far the only people who are participating in the live chat are of a higher level. So that's why I've created this a little bit harder. We'll see if you guys can complete this. For those of you who might be watching who are not of a higher level, have a look at what people do here, and then we can continue to talk about the subject. Remember, when making a zero or a first conditional, you need an if plus the present simple. That's all it is. And in the second part here, you can see the word presence and acts of love. Presence and acts of love. Okay, so gives you an idea of what the first part needs to be. The subject here, in both cases, funnily enough, is going to be to do with love and the role of presence. So the subject is going to be love, and the key thing in love over here is going to be presence. So let's see what you guys come out with. And this ends up the where this is going to be, again, it's a bit of a psychological one. It goes into relationships as well. The sort of thing what you grow up seeing. This works on the idea that your experiences will obviously, the way you see the world is going to be based on your experiences, and the way you see certain things like love will be based on what you experienced growing up, or what you experience in your in important years of your life. That's the idea. It's an interesting one. Let's see. Elida's coming with A. If children have something, a lack of love, that would just, yeah. If you're going to go with lack of love, you'd have to go with a lack of love. Nice idea, though, Elida. Yeah, we need the article, a lack of love. We'll see if that makes sense. If children have a lack of love, then they see presence as the main act of love. Maybe, maybe. We'll see what maybe Leondina comes in with. Maybe she has a similar answer, maybe not. I'll then tell you what my answers would be for this one, because this does play a part in wider society. Because this means we're talking about how people respond in wider society. Um, this comes in all sort of forms. This comes in the forms of personal relationships, friendships, and I think in if love is something, I mean, love is seen as an ethic, for example. It's part. It comes into the play of ethics and morality. So the way love is shown in a person's life from a young age is going to help shape the way they see things from an ethics and moral point of view as well. So we'll see what you guys say. I'll give you 10, I'll give you 20 more seconds, and then I'll let you know what the answer is. I think it's fair to say this definitely was a harder exercise, and I'll let you know what the answers are. And then you can let me know whether you think that this is the case or not. You can disagree with the statements. So the answers are, okay, so Leondina has come in with A. If children get only material shape of love, then they see parents as the main act of love. Well, I'm going to say that what you've put for A, for both of you, what you've put for A can just go with B as well. So let's see, because we might as well write the same sentence, really. A and B. I had if children only. This is this one. This was my answer. So very close. Both of you got pretty close to the answer that I have over here. If children only ever received presents to demonstrate a parent's love, then they will always see presents as the main act of love, or then they see presents as the main act of love. And that is an important thing to think about. Okay. So we're building up over here. Let's go for another round, okay? This time I'm going to make this just a little bit easier, and let's see if we can help ourselves out with this zero and first conditional. We'll go with the following, and this time we're going to look in terms of linking the family to social life, well, political life, which is Okay, so we've got A over here, and let's go with B over here. Okay, so let's see what you guys go with over here. Some words you might need to think about. You might need to think about words like talk, see, vote, and will. Let's see how you guys get on over here. So, if a child only something, their parents vote a certain way in politics, they something something the same way when they are older. And B, children blank the same way as their parents if their parents blank about politics at home. Once you've decided what you think the answers are there, please then let me know. What you think. I mean, do you, after all, do you agree? Do you think that's the case when it comes to these sort of things? Um, I think about this sometimes because I suppose the first your first sort of exposure to politics is going to be well what your parents or what your mum or what your dad thinks about something in politics. I suppose the question is do people vote the same way as their parents? Do people have the same political views as their parents? I suppose that's the idea. Um, I mean, if someone were to ask me, do people have the same political views as their parents? I would say a lot of the time, yes, but there will still be some clear and obvious differences. Leondina says A, C, and will vote, and B, vote and talk. If you agree with Leondina, please let me know. And let me know what you think. Do you think children vote the same way as parents when they grow up? It might depend what age. Um, I think an obvious difference, if I think about my lifetime, would be the UK when it came to Brexit, because a lot of the elder population voted for Brexit, but a lot of the young population voted to stay in the EU. And I think that's one example where you could say that that's an obvious difference. Having said that, I think most of the time you can see people will vote for the same party. They might not have the exact same politics as their parents, but I think they might end up voting for the same party. But let me know. I think that that might only really happen in a two-party system like the UK, Malta, and the US, for example. Malta, there are only two main parties really in Malta. Alida says, "Were you against Brexit, if I may ask?" Yes, you can ask, Alida. Um, I was against Brexit. I did not like Brexit at all. I didn't agree with the concept. I didn't agree with the arguments. And to me, Brexit was a little bit like an episode from Homer Simpson, from The Simpsons. There's an episode in The Simpsons where Homer Simpson is given a choice between two boxes. And in one box, there I can't remember what there was, but Homer Simpson knew what was in the box. I think it was money. And in the other box, there was a question mark. And Homer Simpson goes, "Ooh, I'll go for the question mark. So for me, for me, Brexit was the question mark. I don't think it was very well defined. A lot of the time, you heard people say Brexit means Brexit, but that doesn't really mean very much. Now, of course, because Brexit has happened, we know what it means. Um, People saying it's simply, it's the United Kingdom leaving the EU. Yes, that's the starting point, but that doesn't really tell me very much. It doesn't tell me how or anything. So, yeah, I personally was against Brexit, but so were my parents. So, you could say, was I influenced by my parents? No, I don't think I was on this one. Okay, so now let's move on to the next thing. And this one is actually now going to be something a little bit more to. Oh, you're welcome, Alida. Let's move on to the next question. And this is going to be an interesting one. Okay. This is now I'm going to put the conditionals now, conditional sentences now into more of a paragraph. You guys need to try and complete the paragraph within this. Okay. So, okay, right. So this is one statement. Let's look at the other statement. Okay, I'm just going to change something about A and B because I've noticed that there's a few typos there. And then we can discuss this. We're now entering on the subject of. Okay, so I've kind of done it back to front because there were some mistakes with the first one. So with A, you've got if people something up in poverty then these people, something, the system is against them and they can't do anything about it. Poverty is a mindset. Paragraph 2, really. If people something up in poverty, then something, life is unfair, but that they have the possibility to work themselves out of poverty. Poverty begins with the mind. Let's see what you guys think. I'm not going to tell you what words you need. I'm going to see what you guys come out with. Okay, in some cases you will need one verb. In other cases you might need a modal verb and a verb. Let's see what you guys naturally go with in order to complete these sentences. And then we can discuss whether the statements are even true. This does not mean that the statements are necessarily true. These statements might very well be false. They might be wrong. The conclusion might be wrong because you've got a conclusion here. Poverty begins with the mind. That's a conclusion, but that doesn't mean that is actually the case. So let's see what you guys say. It's a difficult subject, generally speaking, but again, it goes back to the family life to begin with, and then from the family life, what happens in the political and social world. I think it can be definitely a difficult subject to talk about as well, but I'll see what you guys say, and then we'll finish off with our answers. Just as a reminder, tomorrow the lesson will be the lesson will be on friendships, similarities, and differences. The lesson will probably be a little bit easier than today, though. Possibly, we'll see. Alida says A is grow, B is believe, C is grow, and D they will believe. So let's see. If people grow up in poverty, then these people believe the system is against them. Okay. If people grow up in poverty, then they will believe life is unfair. Okay, thank you very much, Alida. If you agree with Alida, please let me know in the live chat section. And then also let me know what you think. Do you think do you agree with these statements? Do you think this might not be the case for adults, but do you think for children and teenagers, do you think poverty begins with the mind? Do you think that's the case? Leondina says, if people grow up in poverty, then these people think the system is against them. That works as well. If people grow up in poverty, then they will think. Okay, excellent. Both answers are correct. Both answers are correct. Excellent. Well done, guys. Let me know. Do you think poverty begins with the mind? Or do you think, actually, no, that's maybe unfair? Do you think poverty first begins with not with the mind, but with the physical situation and then hits the mind? What do you think? Of course, it depends. I think this might be slightly different. We could always say there might be a difference between if you're talking about a child, a teenager, and an adult. I think there could be a difference there. But generally speaking, it's a difficult subject at times to talk about. Okay. And then we'll come to the end of today's lesson. So just like I said, guys, tomorrow we're going to look at friendships, similarities, and differences. I think tomorrow might be an easier lesson. Conditionals are never completely easy. But I wanted to pick a topic that was a bit more challenging. And I wanted to go with language structures. Yes, there's zero and first. And we've done a lot of first and zero conditional lessons before. But because we're trying to fit this around a topic, wants to make it a bit challenging so we can continue to talk about a topic and use the language in that lesson. Well, we use the language, the target language, within the context of the topic. So, guys, I'm going to say a big thank you to Alida. And Alida asked, what is a mindset? A mindset is an attitude. Your attitude, it's up here, your mind, what you believe, what you think, the way you behave, the way you act, the way you speak. It's all a reflection of your mindset, what your mind believes, what your mind is, the way your mind sees things. We can say that, for instance, you can say this person has a positive mindset, a negative mindset, a realistic mindset. Um, we can say that they have an ambitious mindset, for example. So we can use it in lots of different ways. A big thank you to Alida and Leondina. Thank you so much for your participation in today's lesson. Leondina says, I think it is a physical condition that may have an influence on the mindset of a person. Thank you very much for your opinion here, Leondina. Alida says, I see. Thanks, Richard. Nice lesson. You're welcome, Alida. So big thank you, Alida and Leondina. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining and letting and participating in the live chat section. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, with another live lessons. Tomorrow is going to be friendships, similarities, and differences. Take care, everybody. As always, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock with another live lesson. Thanks for now. You too, Leondina. Thank you very much.